I am ember, you are wick. It doesn't take much. Wow, that's a pretty powerful line to start with, isn't it? It's from a poem in our source material, and it really sets an incendiary tone for what we're about to dive into.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into the worldview presented in the online journal Medusa Rising. Through its essays, analyses, and even poetry, it lays out a really potent framework for understanding our current moment. So yeah, let's get right into it.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start with their diagnosis of the present, what they call the emergency. Then we'll look at a key symbol they use, the Gorgon, and the framework they build around it. From there, we'll check out their tools for action, and finally, explore the future they're trying to dream into being. Okay, let's dive right in. So, how does the source material define our current political landscape? Well, they use a single, pretty urgent term, the emergency. So what do they mean by the emergency? According to the writers of Medusa Rising, this isn't just your typical political swing to the right. They define it as a multifaceted global crisis, a fundamental threat to human dignity that they believe is fueled by the rise of authoritarian movements.
And they get really specific about the symptoms. They point to things like the rise of political movements like the PLR party in Chile, or policy proposals like Project 2025 in the US. The argument they make is that what's considered acceptable political debate has shifted so far that it's starting to normalize what the source calls dictatorial oppression. And here's the crucial point. This worldview doesn't see these events as new or random. This quote really frames it perfectly. It's seen as the same old concentration of patriarchy, just, with a 21st century refresh. An old system with new tools.
Okay, so if that's the diagnosis, what's the prescription? How does the source suggest responding to this emergency? Well, it's interesting. It offers more than just a political framework. It starts with a really powerful symbol, Medusa.
Now, we all think we know the story of Medusa, right? The snake-haired monster. But the authors here argue that her power has been completely misinterpreted over the centuries, so they're trying to flip the script. Instead of a monster to be killed, they reframe her as a powerful, protective guardian. The whole point is to restore what they see as her original fierce image. To really get this reinterpretation, they say you have to look at the version of the myth before the ones we all know. In some older stories, Medusa wasn't a cursed victim. She was a powerful guardian of a temple. And her famous shriek, they see that not as a monster's cry, but as a kind of primal voice that exists outside of established law. All right, so this whole reclaiming of Medusa isn't just for inspiration. It actually serves as the anchor for a specific philosophy of action, one they call radical materialist feminism. So what is radical materialist feminism, or RadMatFem? This is the core ideology presented in the journal. It's described as a framework that's really focused on tangible, real-world liberation. It aims to address what it identifies as the material, economic, and social roots of oppression.
And within this framework, they make a really key distinction about how to organize. They critique a rigid idea of sisterhood that might demand everyone think the exact same way. In its place, they advocate for building coalitions. Think of them as strategic, flexible alliances, groups that come together for a specific goal and can dissolve once that goal is met. It's about action, not a fixed identity.
Okay, so we've got the symbol and the philosophy, but how do you actually turn all that into action? Well, this is where the framework gets really practical, outlining specific tools for building a new world. One of the methods they propose is called stigmergy. Now, it sounds a little complex, but the idea is about building a mass movement through decentralized, intuitive action. Why this way? Well, the key is resilience. By focusing on actions instead of a formal organization with a clear leader, the movement becomes much harder to disrupt or co-opt. It's about building momentum organically, where one action inspires the next. Another core concept is what they call transformative adaptation. This lays out a three-part vision for building a new civilization, and each pillar is there for a very specific reason. Grounding in the land provides sustenance. A physical community creates real support systems. And transforming old wisdom ensures that you're not starting from scratch, but you're building on the lessons of the past. And to show that these theories aren't just abstract ideas, the essays constantly point to real-world examples. They draw a line connecting historical groups, like the Beguines of the Middle Ages, to women in the French Resistance, all the way up to women at the forefront of the Sudanese Revolution and contemporary activist groups.
So where does all of this lead? Well, to counter the bleak future that they see authoritarian movements pushing, the source argues that you need something just as powerful, a compelling dream of your own.
This quote right here really captures that central challenge. It's not enough to just resist what you don't want. You have to propose an alternative vision for the future that's so compelling it can inspire real action and commitment. So what does this bigger dream actually look like? Well, it draws on thinkers like Helene Cixous and includes concepts like feminofuturism and a hyperlithic dichotomy, which is a proposed social structure centered on female lineage. The main idea is to build new worlds on the margins instead of trying to fix a broken center, creating a society where people can thrive beyond what they see as rigid gender roles. In this quote, it just serves as such a powerful call to action. It's a declaration of purpose, right? It's urging readers to stop debating and to start actively building the alternative future that they envision. And so, this explainer of the Medusa Rising worldview doesn't leave us with a neat and tidy answer. Instead, it leaves us with a really provocative question, one taken directly from an essay title. It challenges us all to reflect on the scale and the ambition of our own aspirations for the future.